I just recently released a book called Sell the Problem, Not the Solution. Now, that's not just some catchy phrase that I came up with. This is the mindset of an absolute sales rock star. So if you want to be really good at selling, you have to sell the problem, not the solutions. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. So I just recently had an agent that came up to me that said this. He said, you know what? I just received an email from a prospect that said this. What are the next steps? So when you hear what are the next steps, what are you thinking in your mind? Are you thinking this person is ready to go ahead and they're ready to buy something right now? Now, that's obviously what we hope as salespeople. When we hear what are the next steps, our mind immediately goes into, oh, great, I've got somebody that can buy something right. They want to buy something. I'm going to caution you right now on that way of thinking, because when you call somebody back that said, what are the next steps? The next steps could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Next steps could be, hey, you know what? I need some more information before I make a decision. It could be, hey, I want you to mail me something out. So when you call that prospect back, if you just jump right into it and go, oh, I just got your email, Fred. What are the next steps? So what I need you to do is I need you to go grab your credit card. I need you to grab your checkbook. And here's what we need to do. And all of a sudden the prospect goes, whoa, time out. I'm not ready to buy something right now. I had a couple more questions. I need you to mail me something out. I was just checking in with you. All of a sudden now the salesperson is flat-footed. They're like, what do I do now? Because all of a sudden I just jumped in, and guess what? The prospect heard that in your voice. They heard, hey, I want your money right now. I want to go ahead and get this order taken care of. They don't hear, I care about you. So I want you to view the sales process a little bit differently. Here's how I want you to view the sales process. I want you to view it as a big T, okay? And on the left side of this big T is where the prospect has been, where they have been. It's on the left side of the T. So where they've been. And right here in the middle, this is where they are at. Okay? So you've got where they've been, where they're at. So you're trying to find out where they've been, where they're at, so you can tell them where to go. So let me ask you this. So I'm calling this prospect back, Fred, that just said, next steps. What are the next steps? So I get Fred on the phone. I go, Fred, I just got your email. It sounds like you're doing really good. In your email, you said, what are the next steps? But before we go ahead and go there, let's go ahead and recap exactly where you've been with your situation, with your insurance, where you're at right now in the process, and where we're looking to go. Did you just see how that just changed the entire tone of that conversation? Now, all of a sudden, the prospect is going, wait a minute, this person actually cares about me. They just didn't pick up the phone and call me and all of a sudden just assume that I was going to buy something. Now, you see, if that prospect was ready to buy something right then and there anyways, this just reaffirms that they're making the right decision with you. But that person could be calling to go ahead and place that order, but the agent jumps in and goes, okay, so what I need you to do is grab your credit card, your checkbook, and all of a sudden the prospect goes, whoa, time out. I was going to place an order, but now I'm not so quite sure. I feel really uncomfortable about how this person treated this. They're treating this like a transaction, and I was actually looking at it as a relationship. So now I view this salesperson a little bit different. Let me just go ahead and let me back up a little bit because I can still call this agent back and go with them. But right now, I just don't feel comfortable moving forward with this order, with this buying process. So here's what you do as a salesperson. Is you always have to go ahead and recap where they've been, where they're at right now, so that you can tell them where to go. If you follow this process, you're going to ensure yourself and guarantee yourself more sales because you're doing the right thing and you're selling the relationship. You're not selling transactionally. So on the left side of where they've been, this is where the problem is. This is the problem. On the right side, where they want to go is the solution. See, so when I'm calling somebody back and I'm saying, "Hey, go ahead and grab your credit card, grab your checkbook. What am I doing? I'm going right to the right side. I'm going right to the solution. And all of a sudden, I'm no longer selling the problem. And that's the biggest thing. Sell the problem, not the solution. So if I sell the problem, all of a sudden now the individual is begging me for the solution. So you had mentioned to me, Fred, that your insurance was going to end on November 1st. And here's what you had told me. You told me that you had a high deductible on your plan and that you had some health issues. You had a heart attack before. What am I doing? I'm selling the problem. I'm starting to go ahead and get back into that person's mind of exactly what the problem is, so that now they're wanting the solution. So let me give you an example. I had a phone call, and it's actually a video that you can watch on Medicare Rockstars. And in the video, I get this phone call from this prospect, and right off the bat, the prospect goes, "What? Time out. Before we go any further, do you work with such and such company?" And here's what that prospect was doing. They're trying to take control of the phone call. But if I went in and said, "No, I don't work for that company, but I work for all these different companies. I'm just a great salesperson. I've been doing this for a long time, yada, yada, yada." All of a sudden, the prospect starts seeing me as what? They start seeing me as the problem, not the solution. So what I did when that prospect did that, I deflected and I started asking questions. And I started trying to figure out what the problem was that they were going through. And as I dig deeper into their situation, I found out that the problem was that this individual had 3 doctors that they wanted to keep. That was their big problem. So they had 3 doctors that they were so concerned about keeping. And so I focused on that problem. I just kept hitting on that problem. And it wasn't until about 15 minutes later, after really hitting on that problem, really hitting on that pain point, and letting them know exactly how they could avoid running into an issue where they would not have a problem having the means to see those 3 doctors, did the prospect start letting me know why this was such a big problem. They had another insurance plan where they wanted to go see a doctor that was outside the network, and they couldn't see that doctor. And the individual had prostate cancer. And the doctor that they went and saw actually really, really hurt the prospect on exactly what they did as far as the procedure. And so they are always thinking in their mind, you know what? If I had had the right insurance, he might not have run into this problem. See how many times I've said the word problem as we're talking right now? Sell the problem, not the solution. You want to dig so far and isolate that problem so that at the end of the day, they're looking so hard for the solution, and the solution is going to be you. It's going to be you if you do things the right way. So when you're talking to a prospect, forget about the solution. Forget about where they're going to go. Focus right now on where they have been. See where they're at right now. Make sure that you have that down. And then and only then is when you can tell them where to go and provide the solution. So I always say you want to dig several layers deeper. So I recently heard a phone call of an agent that was talking to a prospect. So I'm going to give you another example. So take notes. This prospect told the agent that they worked for the city and the insurance was going to end when they turned 65. So here's what the agent did, which is a major problem. So I'm giving you some really gold nuggets right now. The agent never asked the prospect how they knew that the plan with the city was going to end. Because a lot of plans with municipalities and cities, stuff like that, will give them an option to go ahead and continue their insurance. But this agent just assumed that just because the prospect said, hey, my insurance is going to end when I turn 65, the agent just left that. Those are surface level questions. So what do you do in a situation like this? I would ask that prospect, let me ask you a question. When you turn 65, you work for the city. How many years have you worked for the city? See, the agent never asked that question. They never dug further on where they've been. What about the prospect says, I've worked for the city for 30 years. Okay, perfect. That's wonderful. Let me ask you a question. How do you know that the insurance that they've provided to you the last 30 years is going to end when you turn 65? Now, what if the prospect goes, well, really, I don't know. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to pitch somebody and give them all about the solution. And then at the end of the phone call, they're going, well, you know what? Let me think about it. And all of a sudden, the agent gets really, really upset because they're saying, wait a minute, you told me at the beginning that the insurance was ending. Well, I know I said that, but I really need to check with my HR first in order to go ahead and make sure, and then I'll get back to you. And all of a sudden, the agent is going, wait a minute, you lied to me. No, they didn't lie to you. They really didn't maybe know. They just assumed something, and you did the same thing. You assumed that what they just said to you was exactly what you wanted to hear. Ask them more questions, because I've been down this road before. I've been down the road where somebody said, hey, my insurance is going to end when I turn 65. And then I asked them the question. Let me ask you a question. How do you know it's going to end? Well, I just assume because I'm turning 65 that, the insurance is going to end. You have to start asking more questions. Let me ask you, with your current insurance right now, if they would let you keep it past 65, would you keep it? Do you like it? Just start asking those questions. You got to dig further down to find out what the problem is. I call it unpeeling the onion. You have to keep unpeeling that onion. So once you take off the first layer of the onion, you don't really cry that much. You have to start peeling it back. And as you start unpeeling that onion, guess what ends up happening? If you keep doing it, your eyes are going to start watering. They're going to start welling up, because guess what? You're digging deep into that pain point. You're finding exactly what the problem was. So I've had situations where somebody's told me, hey, my insurance is going to end when I turn 65. They work for a company. I said, how do you know that the insurance is going to end? Well, my HR department told me that it's going to end when I turn 65 and I need to look for other options. Boom! There is where now you have absolute certainty that that insurance is going to end. Because guess what? I asked more questions because I was really wanting to dig down to where they have been so I can find out where the problem is. So back to this call with this agent. The agent is talking to this individual that worked for the city, and the individual, the prospect, says it's going to end when I'm turning 65. The agent never asks how they know. They just go on to the next question. They find out that the individual had an $8,000 deductible. An $8,000 deductible. Now, I can tell you this in insurance, is that when you're talking about deductibles, very rarely does somebody know exactly to a T what their deductible is. If they do know exactly what their deductible is, the odds are that they've had some medical expenses. Now, they might not have hit the whole $8,000, but they've started paying some money out, and all of a sudden now they're like, wait a minute, time out. How much more of this do I have? How much more am I going to have to pay out? So they're asking their HR department, they're asking the health insurance company, how much is my deductible? Or maybe they hit the entire thing. Well, this individual tells the agent that they have an $8,000 deductible, and the agent goes, oh, that's really, really high, and then just moves on. Doesn't dig deeper into that problem to find out exactly what the individual might have experienced. They just continue with the phone call, and guess what? That phone call ends without that prospect buying anything, and they leave with maybe a very big problem with no solution at all. So how do you do that when somebody says they've got $8,000 deductible? Great thing, just ask questions. Hey, how do you know that you have an $8,000 deductible? Well, I had some health issues and we ended up spending some money out of pocket. Did you hit the whole $8,000? No, but we hit quite a bit of it. Well, let me ask you, what happened? Well, I had a heart attack, a couple of years ago. Now the agent comes back and goes, let me ask you a question. How did that impact you? How did that impact you when you had that heart attack? Well, you know what? I kind of freaked out. I've got a wife that depends on me, and I was really, really worried. How did your wife feel? She was devastated. They had to call her at her job, let her know that I had a heart attack. She's rushing to the hospital. She doesn't know what happened right now. What am I doing, folks? I am selling the problem. I'm getting deep into the pain point. I am peeling that onion back layer after layer after layer. So now this individual sees me as a solution, not the problem. So there it is, folks. That's how you sell the problem, not the solution. Always make sure that you know where they've been, where they're at right now, so that you can tell them where to go. If you don't know where they've been and you don't know where they're at right now, you do not have the right to tell them where to go. So here's how you become an absolute sales rock star. Forget all about the solution and focus strictly on the problem. And if you do that, at the end of the day, that prospect is going to be begging you for the solution. Now go out there today with what you've learned and be an absolute sales rock star.